I got my start by giving myself a start. I wish I had been the one that wrote those words. Actually, they were written by Sarah Breedlove, born in 1867 on a Louisiana plantation, the daughter of freed slaves. Hers was a hard-knock kind of life. She lost both parents at age 7, married at 14. She worked as a cosmetic saleswoman. Any Mary Kay or Avon people in the room? Yes. Before striking out on her own. And she christened herself Madame C.J. Walker. Walker didn't invent the hot comb, but she was the first black millionaire, female millionaire. Women in History Month. Thank you all so much for coming out this evening. I know that this is special. It's special for Michelle, and I wanted to honor her and to say thank you, Michelle, for having me here for a second year. Hopefully I'll still be as young as you think I am, and maybe I'll come back for a third year. So here we are, Women's History Month. It's also Black History Month, quite a coincidence. So it's not a coincidence if you find that a lot of the women that I've used happen to be black. I got my start by giving myself a start. How do you give yourself a start? I can tell you what I learned, what I applied, and what worked for me. Notice that I said what I learned, because I didn't create this. None of this is new. None of this is unique. None of this is original. This became clear to me when I was researching for material to share with you here tonight. Because the women in our history learned, but they left their lessons behind for us. These lessons are available to you and to me and everyone else out there that wants to succeed. Listen tonight, and you will almost hear the voices of women from the 19th to the 21st century. As I share with you Madame C.J. Walker, mid-1800s. Harriet Tubman, 1822 to 1913. Mary Kay Ash, born 1918. Let me offer 5 insights that may just help you optimize the outcomes of your success in your business as well as personal. Number 1, almost immediately, the first thing that should occur to you is that you need to believe in yourself. Give yourself a start, regardless of the circumstances and obstacles, real or perceived. Speaking of obstacles and problems, I want to share with you a different twist to them, because we tend to think of them as burdens, as resting right here, of weighing us down. I say to you, make friends with your problems. They may just become a part of your solution. Introduce them to and give thanks for them to God, the universe, the spirit, whichever you care to invoke or to look at as your higher power. You may find that they're not necessarily removable, but that his wisdom is sufficient to bring good out of every one of them. Self-doubt is perhaps the greatest limitation to giving yourself a start. You can go as far as your mind lets you. What you believe, remember, you can achieve. Mary Kay Ash, cosmetic tycoon, marketing genius. Her sales courses are taught at Harvard and Princeton business schools today. The plan that she designed to sell makeup. Number 2, listen closely. Be authentically passionate. I don't mean a sis boom rah and a yeah and a who and a what. I mean authentically passionate about what you do what you select to be your life work. If you have to search for a reason every morning just to get up out of bed and go to work, go to your job every day, I say to you, my friends, that's drudgery, not desire. That's punishment, not passion. Passion is contagious. If people hear and see and feel your passion for what you do, they will become attracted to, or at least very curious. I know there was somebody who said, "Who is this Marcia Barry Smith? And exactly what is she?" Well, I would like to have responded, but my mother brought me up to be a lady. And so I ignored the question. But the curiosity turned into a business opportunity in the long run. They want to find out what makes you tick. What makes you so passionate about what you do? What makes you so excited? What is it to your product or your service that makes you look like you're about to burst out of your skin with enthusiasm? They will naturally, very naturally turn to you when they need that service or product. Always remember, you have within you the passion to reach for the stars, to change the world. Harriet Tubman, 1822 to 1913, almost 2 centuries ago. And we are learning from her here tonight. Number 3, build a better mousetrap. Sounds simple. Whether you're working for a nonprofit, for a corporate in a corporate environment, or running your own business, identify a product that is essential, that people must have. Create a niche for yourself. Perform in a way that sets you apart from the competition. Sometimes it starts out as simple as excelling at the less desirable tasks in the workplace. I remember in my early days in banking, I would do all of the hard transactions, the rollover CDs, the quick loans, the name it, and I would say, I'll do it. And then I became known as a go-to person. So people would come to me directly first. So my numbers shot up. And as I moved, they moved with me. And guess what? I discovered that all of my supervisors and the people who used to say, "Give it to Marcia, she'll do it," they remained stagnant while I continued to move on. Through the years, I say, this is what I remember most of all. Build a better mousetrap, and the world will beat a path to your door. I think that's Mark Twain, but we won't count him. And people will compensate you as they should, because your value and your worth are commensurate with your passion and with your ability to produce and to give best service. And if you follow these, you will never, ever be undervalued, because you will know how much you are valued, and so will everyone else who may want your services or your product. You will never have to settle for less. Number 4. And now we get into Michelle's center of things. Develop and maintain relationships. First off, be authentic. Don't be, "Hi, how are you? Oh my goodness." Please, be authentic. Be enthusiastic. Be welcoming, but be authentic. Have a good system to remember the little things. You would be surprised to know the difference in the service you will receive in a restaurant when you ask the waiter or the waitress, "What is your name?" And you call them by name. Number 1, they think that you're a mystery shopper. And consequently, they figure they better do well. But number two, after a while, can you imagine how many people they've waited on who have just treated them as though they were just this blank wall, this robot? All of a sudden, here is someone who says, "Why, thank you, Mary. Could I have a little more water, please? Oh, that was quick, thanks." It makes a world of difference. And then you translate that into your interplay, your connections with people. Listen to the way people say their name. Listen to the nuances and the accent. And then you say it back the way they did. It means the world. My name is probably one of the most abused names in the world. I am Marcia, Marcia, Marja, Mars. I cannot tell you the number. And all I want is to be called Marcia. In fact, actually, my name is Marcia. That's what my father named me, Marcia. And those of us from the Caribbean know that. However, when you say Marcia in the United States and they translate it into American, it becomes Marcia. So I learned early to say Marcia. Got it. I will give you an even more profound situation. My husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2007. And several doctors gave him weeks. Some managed to squeeze out a couple of months. And I kept on looking. And we went to see a Dr. Livingston, a very arrogant man, but one of the finest cancer specialists in the whole world. In fact, he travels throughout the world. We got to see him. I saw the spelling of his name, Livingstone. And I said to him, "Dr. Livingston, I presume," making a pun on the old story. And he said, "Yes." But he looked at me. And I said, "What will you do if I call you Dr. Livingstone?" Meaning Dr. Livingstone. And he said, "Not if you want me to answer you." And I said, "Okay, then Dr. Livingstone it will be from now on." And I shook his hand. That man kept my husband alive for 19 months more than anyone previously had. And when we finally lost him, he said to me, "Because of the nature of my work, I don't get attached to people because I deal in a terminal world. But with the two of you, this was impossible. And I am so proud to have known your husband and to be able to call you both my friend." The same arrogant Dr. Livingstone. But I say this because it is important. People's name is probably the thing you will say most when you speak with them. I remember when I met my friend Sandra Bernard Bastian, and I thought, exactly. And I said, one day I slipped and I said, "Sandy," because most Sandras get a Sandy. And she looked at me in her own fashion, as if to say, who were you calling? I have never again called her Sandy. But this is important, because that's how you're going to address people. That's the key that you use to open into their presence. So let it be the right key, said in the right key, said in the right accent as well. Okay? So, when you find out things about people, you can use an extraction that is very simple to find out what they celebrate and what they mourn. And when you find this out, make a note of it, celebrate with them, and mourn with them. If you hear they have lost someone, feel free to simply send an email saying, "I heard, so sorry." Because they may be looking for someone that does what you do right in that instant, because that is how the universe works. and the reward to you for having been diligent in your relationship with that person can bring forth all kinds of things. I know that each and every one of you probably have a story like that. And what's so important here is network, 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 network. I know some people now regard this as somewhat of a hackneyed phrase. Some have even given it a negative rap. But in our world today, it's truly vital. Sonia Sotomayor, first Hispanic and the third female associate judge of the Supreme Court ever, and already a subject of history by dint of all of these achievements. This is what she said. She said, sometimes idealistic people are put off the whole business of networking as something tainted by flattery and the pursuit of selfish advantage. But virtue in obscurity is rewarded only in heaven. To succeed in this world, you have to be known to people. Virtue in obscurity, I love that, is rewarded only in heaven, because that's the world we live in. The renegade entrepreneur, Christine Comerford Lynch, love her. She has notoriously made and lost millions of dollars 3 times over. And renegade she is. She's described as a runaway success. She's the author of Rules for Renegades. So those of you who think you're a little bit of a maverick, who think you'd like to find out, well, how do I do this? How do I do this and still remain true to myself? Let me tell you what she said. Networking is marketing. Marketing yourself, marketing your uniqueness, marketing what you stand for. If you look at it in that light, then you understand the true pulsating value of networking and how to do it genuinely, with integrity, and with authenticity. Because again, don't make yourselves humble. As she was saying, don't find excuses. Put yourself forward. There's only one of you. They're not going to see another one like you. You're unique, and your uniqueness is what you market. I have been in this country now for 35 years. And apart from a few key words that I say, because most people will look at me as though I just got another head, I still have my Jamaican accent. That's part of my uniqueness. I worked in the corporate world. I maintained my accent, and I remained true to who I was. I didn't become more militant, nor did I try to fade into the background. I was who I was. And I'm telling you from now, I was not necessarily the most confident person in the world. But I could play at it. I could fake it till I made it. All right. And every time that I was getting a promotion, I would pray, Lord, let me find out what it is I'm supposed to be doing before somebody finds out I don't know. And sure enough, every time I could feel their breath on my neck back here. But I would make it. And I would make it well. Because the only choice for me was excellence. Mediocrity is a choice. It is a choice. You can decide that you will be mediocre. But excellence is also a choice. And that's the one that I say to you to make. 5. Last, but probably the most important one. Make a difference. Make a difference. Ensure that at the end of every day, there is someone whose life you touched, someone you spoke to, whose life you have positively changed or at least impacted. This is so important. And you need to do this without craving gratitude or recognition. It needs to be as instinctive as breathing. Even if it's the child who is clearly singularly plain that you say to, you have a beautiful smile. You don't know what that child may or may not have been through that day, that morning. Make a difference in a stranger's life. That's sometimes easier than it is to make a difference in somebody's life that you know. They are very likely to say, oh, she knows I'm having a bad morning or a bad evening, and she's just saying this. But when you spontaneously say something to someone, and you see that reaction, it's not just happening where the two of you are. It's happening in the universe. It's happening in an outflow of positivity that comes back to you just as the tide comes back to the shore. Because you cannot give without receiving, and you cannot receive without giving. It's a natural law. Our purpose in life should be to plant trees under whose shade we do not expect to sit. That, my friends, my sisters, and my two brothers, that is at the essence of everything, or should be, of everything that we do. Imagine walking away and years later saying to yourself, I wonder who is sitting under that tree, figuratively speaking. I ran into a young woman, well, she's not quite so young anymore because I did last year 15 years ago, but I ran into her and she hugged me and she looked at me and she hugged me again and she looked at me and I said, how are you, Nicole? And she said, oh, Marcia, I'm so glad to see, blah, 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 blah. I said, how's your daughter? How's your ex? How's your mom? How's your dad? You know, that. And finally she said, I have to run, but I have to tell you. You gave me some words 15 years ago that have made me be able to struggle through some of the hardest jobs, hardest minutes of my life. I share this with you not for you to look at me and think, hey, she's wonderful. That's not it. What I'm saying is I couldn't remember what I did. I couldn't. I said to her, I did? She said, yes, you did. I could not remember. What to her was an earth-shattering, life-changing moment of impetus and strength to go forward was to me a forgotten incident. But when you give that way without thinking of return, that, my friends, is what creates the complete success, and the process is fulfilled. Women, great women in history. What would our history be without them? What will history be without each of you? That is why you need to make sure that you leave a lasting impression. And speaking of great women, this whole evening would be incomplete without at least one of her sayings. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Thank you, Maya Angelou. And thank you all so much. You have been wonderful. You have enriched me. And please, remember, our country can never be whole as long as its women remain broken. Thank you.